What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of New Parents in Training. So we want to have a wellness check today for his 9 months checkup. Yeah, surprisingly, like he's in the 80 percentile. Wow. So I contribute that number to our feeding habit for the baby. So today I'm going to share with you 5 tips on baby feeding. Before we're going to do that, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. A bit disclaimer, every baby is different. The 5 tips I'm about to share with you works really well for our baby. And I'm just here to share with you the tips, and perhaps you can use it and modify on your own. And also, I am not a healthcare provider. If there's any issues, you should definitely contact your pediatrician. Let's get started. Tip number 1, know how much a baby should be eating. Now, a very simple Google, you will find a bunch of links and pictures to charts to tell you how much a baby should be eating. You can go onto a site such as healthychildren.org. They will tell you how much an infant should be eating throughout the day. Now, generally, that's just a guideline, right? Like I said before, every baby is different. Like mine can be eating a little bit more or less than what the guideline is telling you. That way you have an idea of how you should go about taking care of your baby. Now, some of the signs of a hungry baby will be like the closed fist, screaming, crying. Those are the typical signs when the baby are in need of food. Now, after you're done feeding the baby, then he or she should be relaxing the fist and have a face of content. So that way you will know that, okay, the baby is done eating. Tip number 2, keeping a feeding diary. So once we found out how much a baby should be eating, we keep a diary religiously, a record of how much our baby was eating throughout the day. Now, this is very simple. We create one on the Word document. You can create one on Word or Excel sheets, or just write it out. It doesn't matter. The general idea is that record every single time you feed the baby and how much is the baby is eating. So that's what we've been doing. So as you can see here, here's a sheet that we use to keep track of the baby's feeding. So the first column is day and time, when we feed the baby. And the second column is breast. Well, that means breastfeed. So whenever my wife breastfed the baby, then we record how long it took. The third column is the bottle. So that's very straightforward. Whatever it says on the bottle, that's how much we have given to the baby. And then we have a column for vitamin D. Well, I mean, this is just vitamin D. So it's suggested that for our baby, he need to take some vitamin D once a day. So we kind of have that column there. So once either I or my wife have marked it, we won't get too much of vitamin D to him. We have a column for solid food because our baby is now taking solid food. And then activity time, like tummy time, reading, play, those we record as well. And then we have the wet diapers, is just the diaper that he's pee on it. And also poop, like how many times he pooped throughout the day, and the nap time. So with this sheet, we know exactly how much we have given to our baby. This way we won't have to guess, like, I think he is overeating or he's undereating. No, we just look at the sheet and do a calculation based on that. So on the much early stage, when my wife was continuously breastfeeding the baby, we need to know how much the baby was eating. So if you haven't seen the video I have done for a smart scale, then I'll link it up top. You can go check it out. So what we have found is using a smart scale is very useful in this instance. So this way, the scale will tell us how much the baby is weighing. The weight is very precise, down to the ounce. So that way, once the baby is fed, we can just weigh the baby and then find out, oh, okay, so he's been taking X amount of breast milk and he should be done. But throughout the time when my wife was more experienced with breastfeeding, then she will have a general idea of, okay, he is having enough, and then and move on. Having a scale at home is very useful in this instance to weigh your baby after feeding. So that way we have a better idea of how much he's taking. The third tip is using this diary sheets to understand your baby. Now, for us, it was very straightforward. we have a data sheet to tell us how well our baby is doing. And so from that point on, we know if he's under eating or overeating. Now, whenever he has growth spurt, that's when we start noticing the drop in terms of eating, because he's either his teeth is coming out, so he's hurting. We want to see when the baby does certain things, like the time of the day that baby poop, or the time of the day that he eating more or less. And so that way we have a better understanding of how our baby is growing and when to anticipate for things to be happening. Believe it or not, humans are a creature of habits, right? And the habits started from the very young. And so once the habits start developing, then for other people, it's very easy to catch if you have something to reference onto. All right, tip number 4, solid before 1 is only for fun. Well, if it rhymes, it must be true, right? So that's something that we are very mindful of. The baby hasn't reached the 1 year mark, and so his main food source is still coming from breast milk. Now, I will touch upon why we continue to feed him breast milk as a main source, even though he can eat solid in a little bit. But the idea is that every time before an actual meal, we will continue to feed him breast milk first. He can drink as much as he wanted to. Then after that is done, then we move on to the solid food. We introduced solid food around 4 months to 5 months period. That's when he was able to sit up with support, and also his head was able to hold in place instead of wobbling. And another thing is he's able to grab onto stuff. It is very important that our baby is able to do that, because first of all, we don't want him to choke on anything when he's eating. And second of all, it's just a process. By that time, when our baby will be able to sit up and whatnot, that's when his body be able to handle solid food. Some of the things that we have done for solid food is because it's for fun, and we try to make it fun. We try to give him food that he can grab onto, such as sweet potato. We chop them up into a tiny little sticks so he can grab onto when he's eating it. As I mentioned before, so there's a reason why that we want to continue feeding him with mainly breast milk. Even though our baby can take on solid food now, we still feed him mostly breast milk. The fact is that my wife eat a lot of variety of food, and that all filter into her breast milk. So the baby can able to take on a lot of nutrients without eating a variety of food. So that's one of the plus for the breast milk, because it is being concentrated to the food that the mom's been eating. Now, if you want to have the same equivalent of the nutrient for the baby through solid food, then we have to introduce a lot of variety of food to the baby. So as you can see, it can be problematic because the amount of variety of food that our baby need to eat is a lot. It will be a lot. So that's one of the plus sign for giving him breast milk as a main food source. Another one is allergy. Tip number 5, watch out for allergy. When we give him solid food, we only give him one type at a time. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, you can start introducing single ingredient foods like fruits, vegetable, and cereal grains between 4 to 6 months. When your infant is developmentally ready, once these first foods have been successfully added into the baby's diet, you can move on to food that commonly cause allergies. Because allergy is very serious, we don't take lightly off. And when we introduce our baby with food, we introducing him one type at a time. If we introducing strawberry to him, then we only give him that particular fruit for X amount of days, usually 2 to 3 days, to kind of monitor him to see if he has developed any skin rash or allergic reaction to the fruit before we move on to a different fruit. To us, that we want to make sure that to give the solid food to the baby, kind of introduce him for him to explore on different type of variety of food. But at the same time, we want to do it smart. By doing so, that we will find out whether or not our baby has any type of allergy toward any of our food group. Now, again, every baby is different, so it's very important for you to consult with your pediatrician to see when to introduce what type of food to your baby. For us, we've been successfully introduced a variety of veggie, fruits, and cereal grains to our baby without any much issues. So I hope that through our experience, it will give you ideas of how to take care of your baby. And because we follow the diary religiously, we were able to continue to help our baby progress in terms of growth. Comment down below about some of the things, tips, or tricks that you have learned for taking care of your baby, and we would like to hear from you. And also don't forget to like, sub, and share this video if you find it to be useful for other parents. Until next time, bye!